What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So even though the conference finals are still raging on, we have fully entered NHL draft season because we have less than a month until the NHL draft. It's on June 28th. The second day is June 29th. It's May 29th right now. So we got to start making some draft content. And I decided to ask you guys on my Instagram to send me your hot takes on this year's draft. Guys that you think are going to go way higher than expected, guys that you think are going to fall, which prospects you think are far better than this prospect, all of that. I got like 100 submissions. I love you guys. I had to cut it down to 15, unfortunately. Thank you to everybody that submitted. So we're going to go through them right now. I think these are some pretty hot, spicy takes. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about them? But let's dive into it. Up first, Demidov will be the better and more consistent player than Celebrini. This comes to us from Mikhail. I can't see consistent. I could see him maybe having higher peaks than a Celebrini just because his playmaking is so impressive. I think he is the best pure playmaker in this draft, but the skating, I don't really think Demidov's really that elite of a skater compared to Macklin Celebrini. The defense, I trust Macklin Celebrini far more on the defensive end, so I could see Demidov having higher peaks, like his best 3 seasons being better than a Macklin Celebrini, akin to like how Johnny Gaudreau hasn't had that insane of a career overall, but his best 2 seasons were fantastic. It was 99 points back in the mid-2010s, fourth in the Hart, then 115 points, fourth in the Hart. I think Demidov will be more consistent than a Gaudreau, but I think he's going to have a very up and down career depending on the year. Meanwhile, I have full faith that Macklin Celebrini is going to be a consistent top 10 center, probably between like 4th through 7th in the entire NHL throughout his entire career. So I can't see consistent, but I could see in some seasons Demidov definitely being the better. I think they are the consensus 2 best prospects. I still think Celebrini has a leg up on Demidov. I think he is the best player in this draft by a fair margin, but I think Demidov also has a fair margin on the 3rd best player. Both fantastic prospects. I can't say Demidov's going to be more consistent. Celebrini does everything at a very high level. Next up, Cole Hutson goes inside of the lottery. When looking at this is brother of Lane Hutson, obviously. He has mostly late first round, early second round grades. I don't know if he's going to... Someone would really have to fall in love with him to take him at the end of the lottery. When looking at the 2 teams that maybe could take him, I'm looking... Or maybe even 3. Minnesota at 13th. I think that they'd opt for like a Helenius or Eiserman if he's there compared to a Cole Hutson. 14th, the San Jose Sharks. And then 16th, the St. Louis Blues. I'd assume that they're going to have guys like Carter Yakimchuk and Adam Yurchek because you have your top 5. I don't even have to list them. I'll list them. But Levshunov, Dickinson, Silyev, Boyam, and Perek. That's like your consensus top 5. Then there's a tier below, and I think that probably is Adam Yurchek and Carter Yakimchuk. I'm not sure Cole Hutson's in that tier. So it would be a massive shock. Not saying Hutson can't go 18th, 19th, 20th. I would probably bet on him between the 24th to 30th overall range, but I'm not sure that exactly is going to happen, but that would be wild. Maybe somebody would fall in love and say, his brother turned out amazing. He should have been a lottery pick. We're going to take him in the lottery as well, but I don't think anything that Cole Hutson does really stands out to a degree that warrants an actual lottery pick. Next up, no defense in the first 6 picks. So this is pretty interesting considering this is being viewed as one of the better defenseman drafts of recent memory. I think I maybe could see a top 5 scenario of this when looking at it. First overall, Celebrini. Then second, let's say Demidov goes there. Third, I think the Anaheim Ducks would be pretty primed to take a defenseman, but I could see them opting for like a Caden Lindstrom or just another forward. 4th is interesting because they definitely have a lot of needs, but they do have already their franchise defenseman in Zach Orwenski, as well as previous years. They took Denton Matachuk, 12th overall, David Yurchek, 6th overall in 2022. So maybe they don't go defenseman. Montreal, I don't think that they're going to go defenseman unless like Levshunov falls there, but it's 6th overall. I think Utah is going to be primed to take a defenseman, considering the fact that they do have a very promising young forward core with guys like Cooley, Michelli, Gunther, Doan really came on towards the end of the season, and they took even though they took a defenseman last year, Simashev is a little bit of a long-term project, not a sure thing. So I think they're probably going to go defenseman. If you told me top 5, I'd say probably not likely, but it could happen. Top 6 though is a little tough. And speaking at that 6th overall pick for Arizona/Utah, or now Utah, Brockerson, no longer Arizona, but Utah picks Silyev 6th overall. Could it happen? Sure, definitely. I'm not sure that Utah would go back-to-back seasons of KHL, MHL defensemen, big defensemen that are kind of boomer bust guys. I think they'd probably take a more safe commodity like a Sam Dickinson if he's there at 6th overall, then say an Anton Silyev and just get him into the system as soon as possible compared to maybe him being in the KHL for a couple years. So could happen. That'd be a fantastic. I believe Simashev's a right-handed defenseman, but if they have a 6'6" and 6'7" pairing, that would be disgusting. They're more so defensive guys, so I don't know if they play together, but that would be I don't make the joke, but they'd be the Twin Towers of terror for the most part. But I think they probably go with the safer, proven commodity, whether that's Sam Dickinson, Zane Perrick, Zeev Boyum. I think that's far more likely, but could happen. Next up, Connor McBikey, the day one Capitals fan. He says the Capitals trade up to take one of the top 5 defensemen. The Capitals are picking at 17th overall. I looked at their cap friendly. They have 3 second-round picks next year and three third-round picks this year. So they have the capital to maybe move up to 13th, 14th overall. You think about the cost there. It would probably be 17th overall, a second-round pick, probably their own second-round pick, because I think they have Boston's and Colorado's in 2025. So their own second-round pick, as well as maybe a third-round pick on top of that to move up 3 to 4 spots. And I would really like if Washington did that. I think the 17th spot is kind of a no man's land in this draft unless someone really falls. So if you're looking at a San Jose and maybe they don't love the options at 14th overall, but if one of the defensemen or one of the top 5 defensemen are there, they probably would love it. But maybe you can get some kind of deal done where you give up a quantity of picks for more so a quality. That would be interesting for the Capitals. I think they should be aggressive and try to get a blue chip defenseman prospect because that's obviously what they're lacking right now in terms of their future. Next up, Leonard Demidov to Montreal. I hope he doesn't mean at 5th overall because I think that is very unlikely. His contract, there's not as much questions around his contract status like a Matvei Michkov. And also there's just not a Will Smith at 4th overall, 3rd overall, Adam Fantilli, where I think Demidov's going to fall that much. Maybe he goes 3rd or 4th overall. Maybe Levshunov goes 2nd overall, but I don't think Demidov is going to fall to 5th overall. Now, what the price would be to move up to 2nd or 3rd overall, that would be pretty hefty. That would be very hefty. That would probably be that 5th overall pick, and then either your 1st-round pick next year plus a 2nd and plus a 3rd. It'd be very expensive. I think teams would not be that willing in order to trade down, potentially get off of Demidov. The difference between 2nd and 3rd or 5th is pretty big in this draft, so I don't think it's going to happen. Montreal would be very lucky if Demidov does fall to them. They didn't take Michkov last year at 5th overall. They were too scared of that, and he plays on the SK St. Petersburg, so I don't know if that's going to happen. Would be insane if they somehow did get Ivan Demidov. Next up, Oliver LaRoche. Helenius will fall past 10 or go top 4. Yeah, I'm seeing Helenius very high in mocks, or I'm seeing him outside the top 10. I kind of agree with this. I got to adjust my collar, but I could see him going to Columbus at 4th overall. Maybe they think that he's going to be that reliable two-way guy if they're a little bit lower on Kent Johnson nowadays, that second-line center behind Adam Fantilli. 3rd overall, I don't think it would make a ton of sense just because they have so many centers, but I could see 4th overall, not going 5th overall to the Montreal Canadiens. I think they need to take a reach on a guy. They already have their great two-way guy in a Nick Suzuki. 6th overall, again, I think they're going to go defenseman there for Utah. Ottawa, plenty of young forwards. They go defense. 8th overall, Seattle already have 2 very young, solid centers. 9th overall, maybe he could go there. But yeah, I think he's either going to go pretty high at 4th overall or probably fall out of the top 10. That's just how this draft order kind of shakes out. And hopefully, I'm big on Helenius. I think it would be great and funny if he does go 4th overall. Next up, Levshunov falls outside of the top 5. This comes to us from Jack. Maybe if Anaheim doesn't take him at 3rd overall, yeah, then he's a right-handed defenseman. Werenski, I believe, yeah. Werenski's right-handed. Yurchek's right-handed. Maybe Columbus passes on him as well. I can't really see Montreal. Montreal maybe would take Levshunov if they have him very high on his board, but I could see him fall out of the top 5. Top 6, I think if he's there for Utah, they're probably going to take him 6th overall at Utah, but he could potentially fall out of the top 5. He's viewed as the consensus number 1 guy, like the average ranking across the board have him as the number 1 guy, but not everybody has him as the no doubt number 1 defenseman. It's like consensus overall once you combine everything, but not every single scouting service has this guy number 1. So it's possible teams within the top 5 don't have him as their number 1 defenseman, or they have forwards ahead of him, and as a result, maybe he falls a little bit. Next up, Eiserman falls outside of the top 15. Top 12, I definitely can see happening. Top 15, if he's there for San Jose at 14th, if he's there for Minnesota, if he's there for the Flyers at 12th, basically 12th through 15, I think, who is it? Flyers, Minnesota, San Jose, Detroit. I think you just run up to the mic and take Cole Eiserman. You have a lot of young pieces already. Cole Eiserman maybe will never be your franchise player, but if you surround him with a ton of talent like those teams are currently building to have, Minnesota already is a fringe playoff team for the most part, same as Detroit. So when looking at it, I think that they should take Cole Eiserman. If he falls that far, the traits, the shot is just too prevalent, and you don't need him to be your franchise forward. So I don't think he's going to fall out of the top 15, which is, it's crazy we're even debating this considering he was the consensus second overall prospect coming into this season, but it's possible. I'd say like a 20% chance, maybe even like 10, honestly. Next up, Berkeley Cadden over Caden Lindstrom. Now, I'm actually going to have my scouting breakdown on Berkeley Cadden on my Instagram and TikTok later today. I really like Berkeley Cadden. I think right now he's a better player than Caden Lindstrom, but not to get all like scouty on this. When you look at the tools and the potential that Caden Lindstrom has at 6'3", 6'4", the way that he skates, the shot that he has, I haven't fully broken down Caden Lindstrom, but I'm inclined to think that I would probably take Caden Lindstrom before Berkeley Cadden. I think Caden Lindstrom just has a far higher ceiling as the bigger, more, he just has far more potential. You know what I'm saying? Compared to Berkeley Cadden, that's like 5'10", 5'11", not saying height is the ultimate determinant of your career, but you're going to go with the bigger player that has shown the progression. When you look at how much Caden Lindstrom progressed this year compared to last year, it has been very impressive. I'd go Caden Lindstrom over Berkeley Cadden, but again, that they're like if I had to spitball, like my fourth and my sixth best prospect in this draft. It is not that big of a gap. I like Berkeley Cadden a lot. Devils send the 10th overall pick in Holtz for Saros on draft night. That would be interesting. I don't know how Nashville is going to approach this season, this offseason, considering they made the playoffs. McDonough, it came out that he just wanted to get moved. It wasn't really like them trying to rebuild or retool or open up money. I think that price, you might have to add another roster player to do that if Nashville wants to be competitive. The thing with Nashville is Askarov probably isn't quite ready to play serious NHL time, and you don't want to rush his development, but also Saros only has 1 year left on his deal. I think that would be about as fair value if you added another roster player for right now, as well as you probably would have to send an actual goalie over to Nashville. So I guess they maybe could sign someone in the offseason, but pretty solid. Devils definitely need to do something in terms of goaltending this offseason, and yeah, trading that 10th overall pick. Although I think the Devils, this is probably the last time they're going to be picking this high. Next year is a win. Even though you missed the playoffs, there's still high expectations, and you got to be aggressive as possible. Next up, Iginla goes third to the Anaheim Ducks. Jack Davis with this. And it would have been crazy to think this 3 to 4 months ago before the season. Absolutely insane. I still don't think it's going to happen. I have them taking Levshunov. But if Anaheim believes, who's the general manager? Why am I blanking? Pat Verbeek. If Pat Verbeek thinks, I like my defense core, I think Minchikov, Zellweger are a fantastic top two. We got guys like Tristan Luneau, Jackson Lacombe. We have a good young defense core. We can go out and sign a veteran. Radko Gudas was very good for us this year. And we don't need another center. We don't need a Caden Lindstrom, considering we have McTavish, Carlson, and Zegras is probably getting bumped to the wing. Maybe we go with a goal-scoring winger. And who is one of the best goal-scoring bigger guys? When you look at the guys that Verbeek has drafted the last two drafts, it is all over 6 foot. It's mostly like 6'3", 6'4". So I think if he wants a bigger physical guy that has an NHL shot and the genes are there, obviously, I'd be shocked. I would definitely be shocked. I can't act like, oh, I could see this coming. I'd be shocked. Like, again, like 5th overall, I would understand more compared to 3rd. It's a possibility. It's possible. I'd say 3 to 4% that it happens, but it's definitely a possibility. Maybe a more realistic one is Perrick going 3rd overall. This comes to us from Luca to the Anaheim Ducks. If they have Perrick over Levshunov on their draft board, which a couple people do have, I haven't made a full determination on my defenseman draft order right now, but that's possible. I think Zane Perrick is getting wrongly accused of not playing defense. His defense isn't his strong suit. It's obviously his insane offensive potential, but I think that he is a more well-rounded defenseman than people give him credit for. So maybe Anaheim decides, yeah, we actually like Levshunov more than Perrick, and as a result, we're going to take Zane Perrick 3rd overall. And then lastly, a top 7 pick is traded from He Kinda Weird TBH. That's an awesome username. And yeah, I hope that we get some goddamn trades. I hope we get some high pick trades, guys moving back and forth. I want this to be active as possible. 2023, there wasn't a ton of pick movement on the night of. 2022 is insane when looking at it. The Doc 13th overall pick trade with my New York Islanders was crazy for the most part, as well as I think Connor Geeky, the pick that eventually became Connor Geeky. The Sharks and the Coyotes traded up for like the 28th, 33rd, and 40th overall pick. We need more of that. We need more of on draft night trades going down. But yeah, those are the hot takes. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about these draft hot takes? I'll be seeing the next one.